Christianity and the forbidden craft. Christianity's relationship with magic has always been a curious paradox, at once its harshest critic and its silent practitioner. Official doctrine condemns magic as demonic, a trap for the soul, a path to ruin. Bans on magical practices stretch back to the earliest Christian texts. From the New Testament through the writings of the Apostolic Fathers, echoing into the medieval era and beyond. And yet banning something often only makes it more enticing. The historical record is clear. Magic flourished within Christianity, across all its traditions and all eras. In fact, much of what we now call modern occultism cannot be imagined without Christianity as its strange but crucial backdrop. Figures like Simon Magus and Dr. John Dee didn't practice in isolation. Their work was saturated with Christian symbolism and worldview. Christianity, it seems, was both the fiercest enemy of magic and its most fertile soil. This duality comes into sharp focus when we turn to early Christian Egypt, a land where sacred texts, magical spells, and competing religions swirled together like incense in temple air. Here, in the desert's dust and the shadow of ancient temples, Christian magic wasn't whispered about. It was written down, invoked, practiced. Egypt, cradle of Christian magic. To understand Christian magic, one must journey into Egypt, where magic had already flourished for millennia. Known as Heka, Egyptian magic encompassed everything from healing and curse tablets to the animation of statues and resurrection rituals. This deeply embedded magical culture was a perfect foundation for later Christian syncretism. Egypt also provided a literal medium for magic's preservation: papyrus. Durable, light, and enduring, this ancient writing material survived where others crumbled. Its strength was such that some papyrus documents are still legible after 4,500 years. Combine that with Egypt's dry climate, and we find ourselves holding direct evidence of early Christian magical practice. But Egypt wasn't just a climate and culture, it was a crossroads. Christianity entered Egypt early, perhaps with the Apostle Mark himself. It grew alongside Judaism, Hermeticism, Gnosticism, and Greco-Roman mystery cults, often borrowing, blending, and reinterpreting ideas. This environment gave birth to a uniquely syncretic form of Christian magic, one that drew on pagan symbols, Jewish ritual, and Christian theology alike. Yet this vibrant magic was born in tension. Christianity was a new religion, something the Romans found suspect. Miracles performed by Jesus and his followers were interpreted by critics as mere sorcery. Was Jesus a divine Messiah or a dangerous magician? Was Christian healing holy or heresy? To assert legitimacy, early theologians distanced themselves from magic, at least officially. They argued that miracles came from God, while magic came from demons. But among everyday people, the line was far more blurred. Spells of healing, protection, and exorcism. The evidence of Christian magic lives on in spells, many of them collected in Greek or Coptic, the final form of the ancient Egyptian language. These spells fall into categories: healing, protection, love magic, cursing, and more. In Oxyrhynchus, a town famous for its massive trash heaps, archaeologists uncovered a healing spell written in the shape of a cross, using text from the Gospel of Matthew. Likely carried as an amulet, it was folded, worn, and believed to protect or heal its bearer. In the center, possibly an image of Christ himself. A holy text made sacred symbol, made personal protection. Another spell, preserved in the Greek magical papyri, PGM4, acts as an exorcism. It invokes the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, then calls upon olive branches, used as scourges and chains to drive away demons. The expelled spirits are kept at bay, with an amulet invoking the Egyptian gods, Bes and Horus. A Christian exorcism sealed with pagan talismans. This was not orthodoxy, it was practicality. Another protective charm weaves together the Lord's Prayer, the Exorcism of Solomon, and Psalm 91, used since the Dead Sea Scrolls as a spiritual weapon. Solomon, long associated with control over demons, appears again here, a bridge between Jewish law and Christian occultism. One 10th century healing spell, written in Coptic, stands out for its personal touch. It names the afflicted as Kirahu, daughter of so-and-so. The matrilineal naming, rare in most legal or social documents of the time, persists in healing magic and echoes through modern Jewish healing prayers today. These protective texts are filled with magical words, mysterious sigils, and iconic Christian symbols. Sometimes they echo the four gospel beasts of Ezekiel. Sometimes they mirror ancient motifs, like the Sator square, a palindrome believed to possess great power. Erotic binding and love's dangerous magic. Magic, of course, isn't always kind. Erotic binding spells, often mistaken for love magic, aim to compel desire, not nurture romance. Consent is irrelevant. These were tools of obsession, coercion, and lust. One spell binds a man named Papalo to another man named Fellow. The erotic language is explicit, the intent undeniable, and yes, both appear to be monks. Such same-gender spells are rare but not unheard of. While church doctrine thundered against homosexuality, human desire moved quietly, and sometimes forcefully, beneath those proclamations. In this spell, magical chants and mystical characters, known as ring signs, are used to manipulate feelings, desire, and perhaps even the divine. Magic wasn't restrained by doctrine. It reflected people as they were, not as theologians said they should be. Curses of blood and bone. If love spells reveal longing, curse spells unveil fury. Curses written on bones, camel bones, sometimes even human rib bones, call upon ancient forces to wreak vengeance. One spell, written by a man named Jacob of Euphemia, asks for Apollon to be punished like the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. The spell might have even been buried with a corpse to unleash a wandering spirit. Another spell, perhaps a form of necromancy, seems to beg for the revival of a dead child. It references a child with flowing hair and suggests a desperation beyond reason. A parent's grief can move mountains or raise ghosts. Then there's Mary. In a Coptic curse from the 4th or 5th century, she calls upon Jesus himself to ruin Martha's marriage, afflict her body with tumors, and shame her. We don't know what Martha did, but we know Mary had had enough. These aren't theologians at war, they're neighbors, perhaps once friends, now locked in spiritual combat. And finally, a spell meant to curse with wax dolls, menstrual blood, and bound effigies wrapped in mummy bandages. The cursed were symbolically tied and buried, their spirits trapped by ancient symbols and modern rage. Divine voice and angelic tattoos. But magic wasn't only for cursing and healing, it could also be used to chase beauty. One spell, among the most bizarre and delightful, seeks not power or revenge, but a good singing voice. The magician, named Cerberus, son of Anna, invokes archangels, the zodiac, King David himself, famed as a divine musician. He wishes to sing so sweetly that shops close, crowds gather, and people beg for an encore. What's most unusual? The spell says God has the 7 Greek vowels tattooed across his chest. These holy vowels are chanted to invoke divine favor. It's an image found only in a handful of Christian magical texts, and never forgotten once read. An accompanying drawing shows either the magician or King David holding a lyre or lute, surrounded by sacred sigils. Whether self-portrait or divine muse, the message is the same. Even in the ancient world, some people just wanted to sing. The living heart of ancient Christian magic. These spells, healing, protection, binding, cursing, and enchanting, offer more than insight into ancient magic. They reveal a side of Christianity often ignored, the daily, desperate, and deeply human ways people sought divine help. Was it sanctioned? Rarely. Was it practiced? Constantly. More than 150 spells have survived. There were once thousands. Each one speaks to a Christianity that was mystical, adaptable, and richly intertwined with the spiritual cultures around it. From elite theologians to grieving mothers to lovesick monks and vengeful neighbors, Christianity was not merely a creed. It was a lived experience where magic filled the spaces between prayer and fear, doctrine and desire. To study these texts is not to stray from Christianity, It is to understand it more deeply, not just in its halls of power, but in the hands of ordinary believers. They prayed, they hoped, they cast spells. They were, in every sense, human. This is Abyssal Narratives. If you felt the pull of the arcane tonight, subscribe, support the channel, and ring the bell to stay bound to the unknown. More forgotten grimoires, dark histories, and ancient powers await.